It's Friday, August 15th, 2025. Even the Obama Department of Justice was trying to do its job until it wasn't anymore. Gavin Newsom is really worried for real this time, and Ask or Tell Me Anything next on the AM Update. Well, thank you for kind of making it through another week on the AM Update with me. It was a rocky road this week. Hopefully you're hearing this in the regular venue that you're accustomed to via a podcast. This week, my podcast host, that would be Libsyn or Liberated Syndication, had some major issues across the board with publishing podcast episodes. They resolved those, and then for my podcast, as I understand it, from my podcast alone, the AM Update, there was some weird problem that they had to chase down and escalate, and eventually, they tell me they did fix the problem. I'm still rather dubious about that, but we'll see. I appreciate your patience with that. Anytime there's a technical issue like that, I try not to leave you hanging. If you're expecting this podcast every morning, I try to respect that. That's one of my key pillars of podcasting is consistency. And when you're inconsistent like this, and I can't actually publish a mini episode to let you know what's going on, I always try to let you know at Real AM Update on X. So anytime you're wondering, hey, where's the podcast this morning? If something's wrong, then usually, most of the time, I'm aware of it, and I'll fill you in as much as I can over at Real AM Update on X. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and give me a follow over there. That's where I posted a couple of episodes this week when I wasn't able to get them up on the main feed. Now let's move on with a Friday 5-pack. The big news that kind of went underreported yesterday was from Just the News, which is John Solomon's outlet. FBI Director Kash Patel has uncovered a bombshell memo written in 2017 chronicling the extensive political obstruction that career agents in 3 cities faced from their own bosses and the Obama Justice Department during the 2016 election as they probed whether Hillary Clinton engaged in a pay-to-play corruption scheme involving their family foundation. Then Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates is quoted as saying, quote, "Shut it down," demanding in the detailed timeline of political impediments that agents in New York City, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Washington, D.C. reported. The agents tried to get the help of federal prosecutors to determine whether or what crimes occurred while Hillary Clinton served as Secretary of State, most notably because at that time, her family foundation solicited hundreds of millions of dollars from foreign and U.S. interests with businesses before her department. So even the Obama Department of Justice, they were trying to do their jobs, at least at their field offices in those 3 cities, and were foiled by the Obama administration. Things we have suspected for years now, upwards of a decade now, coming to light. Again, that's according to reports from FBI Director Kash Patel, reported on at Just the News. President Donald Trump yesterday at the Oval Office took some executive action to crack down on Social Security fraud. He made these comments ahead of his big meeting with Vladimir Putin later today about just what they found in the process of auditing Social Security.
Not bad, right? No tax on Social Security for our seniors. And to protect our benefits, we've already kicked nearly 275,000 illegal aliens off of the Social Security system. These are people, many of them have already left the country, and yet we were sending them checks all the time. And 275,000, and that number is now even larger than that, Frank. It's an unbelievable job. And what that's doing is making the system strong. It's making it strong. Biden never kicked anybody off. Everybody joined. And we're carrying out historic deportations to remove many more illegals committing Social Security fraud.
That was at the White House, President Trump touting their efforts on the 90th birthday of Social Security to crack down on Social Security fraud. You heard him mention at the end there the largest deportation effort in American history. That continued in Los Angeles, California yesterday. Outside of a venue where Gavin Newsom was set to speak, ICE agents rounded up a bunch of illegals right outside where Gavin Newsom was speaking, getting set to launch a campaign for a special election to approve redistricting plans that would basically make California 100% blue. Here is Gavin Newsom yesterday at that meeting.
Well, I think it's pretty sick and pathetic. And it just said everything you need to know, the setting that we're under. That they chose the time, manner, and place to send their district director outside right when we're about to have this press conference. She said, everything you know about Donald Trump's America. And that was top down. You know that for a fact. They'll deny it, I'm sure. Maybe they won't deny it. She said, everything you know about the authoritarian tendencies of the President of the United States. I said it a moment ago, wake up, America. Wake up. You will not have a country if he rigs this election. You will have a president who will be running for a third term. Mark my word.
Okay, consider them marked. If President Trump runs for a third term, he'll be right. If President Trump doesn't, I mean, we're going to have those words marked. That deportation effort continues in Florida. Of course, alligator Alcatraz isn't enough now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says they're opening up another deportation facility.
So I'm here to announce today that we are authorizing and will be soon opening this new illegal immigration, detention, processing, and deportation facility here in North Florida. We are calling this the Deportation Depot. It is going to be located here at Baker Correctional Institute. And again, the reason of this is not to just house people indefinitely. We want to process, stage, and then return illegal aliens to their home country. That is the name of the game. And that's what we do in Florida. We know that this is an important national priority, not only of President Trump, but of the American people. Of all the issues in the election, I can tell you this immigration and border issue was either the top or right near the top on all people's minds.
So it sounds like alligator Alcatraz has gone so well to this point that they're opening up another deportation facility, according to the Florida governor. He is absolutely right, and you're seeing the White House message, especially after the passage of the big, beautiful bill. They're starting to message the mass deportation efforts even better than they were before, which is saying something. So that is a good thing. Back to the efforts, or the campaign now, the new campaign to crack down on crime in D.C. Hey, give credit where it's due to some degree. Here is Joe Scarborough on MSNBC. This is not the first time this week he has lampooned his own party, Democrats. That's his own. I guess maybe technically he's an independent or Republican or something. He's a Democrat. He's lampooned his own party for being on the wrong side of the crime issue.
The answer to this problem for Democrats is not, oh, everything's okay, there's nothing to see here, move along. Oh, Washington has dropped 24% or whatever in crime. Well, let me give you some other numbers. The Washington Post took a poll at late April, early May. 91% of Washington residents say crime is a problem. 91%. 51%, it is an extremely serious problem. And John Heilman, we've had people before put this in racial terms. And this is, I must say, this is one thing that I think Democrats have gotten so wrong about crime. Let me just read the Washington Post here. There are stark divides among lines of race and income in the poll, with black residents and lower income residents significantly more worried about crime than white residents and those with higher income.
Joe Scarborough on MSNBC chastising Democrats for being tone deaf about the issue of crime. Hey, even the blind squirrel finds the occasional clock twice a day. And finally, this kind of big news yesterday morning. PPI, that's the Producer Price Index. It's largely seen as a leading indicator of overall inflation. That climbed 450% over expectations in the month of July. As Zero Hedge pointed out, though, there is an indicator of whether or not this is caused by tariffs, and that indicator, so financial demands and goods minus food and energy, was actually pretty tame, which is a key indicator of whether or not these are tariff-induced. So it could just be a blip on the radar. It could be a very ominous indicator of things ahead. The PPI, the Producer Price Index, soaring way above expectations yesterday. When we come back, it's time for our weekly segment I love so much. Ask or tell me anything. Ask me any question. Tell me any news story you think needs covered on the AM Update. That's coming up next. Ask or tell me anything. We go to Cole, who asks, your podcast title, does the AM in the AM Update stand for Anti-Meridian, Aaron McIntire, Audible Metaphysics, Autistic Mastermind? Well, I think it could stand for 3 of those 4, although I wouldn't call myself a mastermind. Badoom ching. But its main meaning is Aaron McIntire and Anti-Meridian. Just kind of a play on an acronym there. Second, if applicable, are you a cigar or a pipe guy? I haven't had one of those, either of those, for a long, long time. But I think the most recent one that I had, I purchased one of those really cheap, like corncob pipe things. And that's actually kind of fun. The taste, depending on the leaf that you get, is actually, I prefer that over a cigar. But like I said, I haven't had either for a long time. And third, we come from the same strain of theology. What are your thoughts on Philip Anthony Mitchell? I don't have any. Never heard of him. Prior to reading your question, I actually looked into him, and it's not ringing a bell, so I don't have anything to tell you there. Country says, Pastor Jack Hibbs, warns parents to flee California if HB 495 passes. Hibbs describes as the bill as, quote, allowing a non-related adult to remove your child from school or daycare with an affidavit, no background check required, no court order, no parent signature. Parents may not even be notified. So I'm not sure if this is related to the Rainbow Jihad or just a very, very overreaching attempt to protect children who may or may not actually be in some degree of abuse. But that is definitely overreaching. I've heard rumbles about this. I think next week I maybe need to look into this a little bit more and cover it on this and other platforms. So, Country, thank you for jogging my memory and reminding me of that. Donald says, when AI reaches general intelligence, what will be the basis of morality, specifically sexual morality and contraception? So, if you mean general intelligence as sentience, I'm not really sure what general intelligence means in this context, but if you mean it as sentience, I don't believe AI will ever reach sentience. AI can never deal truly in an honest way with paradoxical thinking, which is required as a part of the human condition. However, let's just grant it that maybe it does reach that someday. What will be the basis of morality, specifically sexual morality and contraception? Whatever the coders decide that it wants to be. Even if they're trying their best to be non-biased, it's always going to have a human bias. I don't believe that it's possible to create an artificial intelligence that is some sort of, let's pretend that there's a Bible AI. Everything in this AI is actually backed or rooted in some degree of truth about God's word. I don't think it's possible even then to have a completely 100% truth AI. I just don't think it's possible because everybody has their own little biases, and eventually those will come out through the cracks. So hopefully you're tracking with what I'm saying, and hopefully I'm understanding the question. But essentially, at the end of the day, you're still dealing with a bunch of zeros and ones. You're not dealing with a real soul, a real intelligence. You're dealing with code. And who is the coder? That's the question I would ask to answer your question. T. Roy says, gas or charcoal? Charcoal. 100% charcoal. Okay? I've had gas grills in the past, and they're okay until they catch on fire the first time, and then they never seem to work again, or at least everything tastes like it's burned after it catches, after you have a grease fire. So charcoal all the way for me. I got a little $20 charcoal grill ahead of a tailgate that I went to last year to cook out before the game. And man, I hadn't had charcoal for quite a while, and that was really, really good. So charcoal all the way for sure. Next, let's go to Matt H., who has a post from U.S. Democratic Socialists on Facebook. This post reads, quote, "Gay dating apps are reportedly threatening that if the Supreme Court bans gay marriage, they'll reveal all closeted Republican officials and members of Congress who have accounts on their platforms." Matt H. says in response to this post from U.S. Democratic Socialists, "This isn't the win that Democrats think it would be. Most of the GOP grassroots and MAGA base would be just fine with this information coming out." Totally agree with that assessment. I think that's a smart one, Matt. And Matt also says, expanded version of the CNN interview with Doug Wilson. Yeah, I understand Canon Press actually recorded the entire interview, or at least CNN gave them access to the complete unedited interview, and it's about a half hour long. So that's smart to make sure that they got the entire story told. I really didn't have too much of a problem with Doug Wilson doing this with CNN. You know, I think the CNNs of the world are going to say whatever they want to say about you anyway. So you might as well talk to them. And I think as far as CNN is concerned, that was about as least bias as they could have gotten. And that's not high praise at all, but that's just the reality of CNN. James asks, "Is it wrong to report my colleague's girlfriend who is an illegal immigrant?" Is it wrong to report my colleague's girlfriend who is an illegal immigrant? No. No, it's not. And I'll just leave it there. She's here illegally. It's not. You guys are going to have to get really mean. Sorry. You just are. If she's not here in the country legally, she's a criminal. She's broken the law. At least that's going to be the mindset that we have to have. Robert Mack has this story from WCNC in Charlotte. Headline, South Carolina transgender student bathroom proviso suspended by appeals court amid student's lawsuit. A federal appeals court has temporarily blocked South Carolina from enforcing its law banning trannies from using restrooms that match their so-called gender identity, ruling Monday in favor of a 13-year-old boy who feels pretty who challenged the policy. U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit granted an injunction pending an appeal that prevents the state from enforcing the bathroom ban specifically for the student identified as John Doe, while his case moves through the appeals process. So I don't know if this is an actual dude who feels pretty or a girl who feels gruff. Given that this is probably a lefty outlet talking about it, and they've referred to this person as a 13-year-old transgender boy, I'm guessing it's actually a girl who feels gruff. But again, latest example, the people elected representatives to serve in the South Carolina State House. The South Carolina State House passed a law that was signed into law by the governor, and here comes a court to say, you can't do that, you don't have a voice. I don't actually believe in democracy. This court says, I'm God. Again, these courts, even down to the school districts, are just going to have to defy the courts at some point. Next up, we go to this Follow Truth wants to know what I think about this woman. On social media, she's been characterized as a liberal. Maybe she is, maybe she's not. I've not watched this movie, this little TikTok. This is the first time I'm going to be reacting to it in real time. This is how it's being characterized. Liberal woman on the verge of tears because Starbucks no longer has her favorite drink.
I know it's really dumb, but I just went to 2 different Starbucks.
Hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you today?
Hi there. Do you guys have the summer berry still?
We don't. I'm sorry, queen.
I'm just desperate to find it.
Yeah, everyone is supposed to technically be out of it by now.
And I just had the worst day. I really want my emotional support drink. I got laid off a month ago, but they gave me 30 days notice so that I could keep working, which I really appreciated because I needed the income. But my last day is on Friday, and I'm having to go to work every day this week at a job that I'm already laid off from. I worked at this place for 5 years. It's just a small thing, but I was just gonna comfort myself tonight. I don't drink. I'm sober, so I don't go to the bar when I don't feel good. I go to Starbucks, and it just feels like we should get some warning when something's going to be disappearing, because some of us depend on it. And they were asking me, do you want anything else? They were like, we still have the puppy.
Okay, that's enough. It's been 60 seconds. I think we've heard enough. There was a point in that where she said she'd been laid off a month ago where I thought, well, maybe this is just the straw that broke the camel's back. And then she's almost going into apoplexy and also filming herself. And it's the filming of your breakdowns that tells me. Now, there's nothing in that minute that we listened to that definitively proves that she's liberal, like she has been characterized on social media. My 90% answer, and let's make a 95% answer, is get a hold of yourself. I know things are tough right now, but adults do not behave this way. 5% chance that maybe this is just the straw that broke the camel's back and she's just going through a really rough time. And it was that little meaningless, she said it herself, dumb little drink that really tipped her over the edge. It could be that, but I'm going for get yourself together. Let's go to James, who asks, why do you think God hasn't wiped America off the map yet when we've shed more innocent blood than some of the nations he judged in the Bible? Is this mercy for repentance or patience before judgment? Yes. It's a great question. It's a startling question. It is a morbid question, to be sure. But this is one of those times where we have to tell ourselves his ways are not our ways, his thoughts are not our thoughts. Let's end with Noah. What programs or equipment do you use for the audio editing process? I'm considering making an audiobook, and your podcast is usually quite top-notch in sound quality, so just wondering some technical details. I am kind of old school. I use an analog Mackie mixer. It's just a technically 4-channel mixer, but it's really only 3 channels. I just do everything analog, nothing digital in my home studio. At the work studio, everything is digital. So that's what I use, just a little Mackie mixer. I use the Shure microphone. It's the it's not the SM7B. It is the variant of that. I think it's the MV7. Yeah, the Shure MV7 is what I used. And it's not the USB version of that. It's cheaper than the USB version just because I don't like the USB jack on that thing. It comes loose pretty quickly. But man, I think I paid less than $200 for these microphones in the home studio. And I really like the way that they sound for the most part. Really like the way that they sound. So those are the kind of the 2 main pieces of the hardware. As far as software, I always use Adobe Audition, which I believe you can get at a monthly rate. But I've you can get Audacity, I think, is the free product. There's some other audio editing software out there. But for spoken word, it's really hard to beat Adobe Audition. So that's what I use for software. There are a number of different options that you can go for now. You could go with a Zoom flash recorder, and there's some Zoom audio interfaces to make it really simple, and you could probably save a little bit of money going that route. But I do it old school. Got a tiny little Mackie mixer along with a couple of affordable Shure microphones along with the Adobe Audition. That's going to do it for a Friday. Thank you for listening this week, if you could. And that was a big if this week. If you could, I appreciate you listening. Have a wonderful weekend. Back tomorrow with No Sucks Saturday. If I don't catch you then, see you back here on Monday.